Canadians are living on the most borrowed money than people in all other G7 nations.
Thousands of people lined up for hours at this Toronto job fair, many hopeful they'll find work after being turned down by other employers.
It's really hard, and it is imposing real pain on a lot of Canadians and Canadian families.
When you think of Canada, what comes to mind? Pristine landscapes, friendly people, and a reputation as one of the world's most prosperous nations, right? Behind the picturesque scenery lies the problem with Canada's economy that you need to know about. Canada, often praised for its natural beauty and quality of life, is facing an economic challenge that's hard to ignore. From the vast forests of British Columbia to the oil sands of Alberta, Canada's wealth has long been tied to its abundant natural resources. But here's the catch. Canada's housing market is on fire, and not in a good way. Skyrocketing prices are leaving many Canadians struggling to find affordable homes. Meanwhile, income inequality is widening and the wealth gap is growing faster than ever. Trade tensions are on the rise and tariffs are taking a toll on Canadian businesses. So what's going on? The pillars of Canada's social safety net, healthcare and education, are under pressure, raising questions about their long-term sustainability. But it's not all bad news. Canada's tech scene is booming and innovation is on the horizon. Can it be the answer to some of these challenges? Canada is a country with a really strong economy. In fact, it's one of the biggest economies in the world. Imagine having $2.089 trillion in your piggy bank. Canada is also really good at trading things with other countries. In 2021, they traded stuff like toys, cars, and more, worth $2.016 trillion. They sent out things worth $637 billion, but they also bought things from other countries worth $631 billion. A big chunk of those things came from their neighbor, the United States. Back in 2018, Canada bought more stuff from other countries than they sold, and they had a trade deficit. It's a bit like if you spent more money on toys than you earned from selling your old toys. And they have a special place where people can buy and sell parts of companies. It's called the Toronto Stock Exchange, and it's one of the world's biggest. Imagine it like a super-duper store where you can buy pieces of lots of big companies, and all those pieces together are worth more than $3 trillion. Canada's banks often work together, and many people there are members of credit unions. This means they like to help each other with their money. Canada is known for being a very honest and fair country. It's not a place where people usually do bad or sneaky things. In fact, it's one of the cleanest countries in the world when it comes to being fair and honest. When it comes to competing with other countries and coming up with new ideas, Canada is really good at that too. They're like a strong team that works well together. People in Canada tend to have a similar amount of money, which is good because it means there isn't a big gap between rich and poor. Also, when it comes to how much money people have to spend, Canada is doing pretty well compared to other countries. They have more money for each person's family than many other places. But when it comes to finding affordable places to live and getting money from other countries, Canada is not the best. They have some work to do in those areas. Canada has changed a lot since the 1900s. Back then, most people lived in the countryside and did farming. But now most folks live in cities and they work in places like factories, mines, and jobs where they help others. Just like in many other rich countries, a big part of Canada's work is helping people and giving them services. That means most jobs in Canada involve doing things for others. But here's something special about Canada. They also have some really important jobs where they get things from nature, like trees and oil. In places up north where it's hard to grow crops, they find valuable things like wood or oil in the ground. That's how some towns in the north of Canada make money and keep going. Canada has a whole bunch of valuable stuff in its big land. Imagine they have things like oil, gas, shiny rocks, trees, yummy fish, wind, and lots of water. They have all this because Canada is the second biggest country on Earth, and it has all kinds of different places with different things in them. One of the coolest things they have is oil. They have so much oil that it's like having 173 billion big barrels of it. That's a lot of oil, and Canada is the third best in the world at having this much oil. Canada sells a lot of oil to other countries, and this helps Canada have more money. Most of this oil comes from places called Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Newfoundland and Labrador. Alberta is like the big boss of making oil because they have something called oil sands, which is like a treasure chest of oil, but they can only get a small part of it by digging. When Canada's money, called the Canadian dollar, isn't worth as much compared to the money from the United States, it means things Canada buys from the US become more expensive. So the prices of some things in grocery stores go up because of this change. Also, Canada is seeing more crazy weather like droughts, fires, and floods because of climate change. This affects farming and the way we get food, which can make food prices go up too. Sometimes really bad weather like big storms or floods can make it harder to grow the food we we need. When this happens a lot, it can cause the prices of food to go up and down a lot, and that's not good for people who want to buy food. Imagine if you were trying to collect your favorite trading cards, but every time you tried to get one, the price kept changing because of the weather. It would make it really tricky to finish your collection. Also, the prices of houses in Canada are doing something interesting. In some places, they are going down, like if the cost of a video game you like suddenly got cheaper. But when we look at the big picture, in most places, the prices of houses are going up, like when you save money in your piggy bank and it keeps getting fuller, except in one province where it's going down a bit. This is like looking at the score of a game to see who's winning. In August 2023, the average price of a home in Canada was about $650,140. That's a bit less than it was the month before, but it's still a bit more than it was at the same time last year. So it's like a roller coaster. It went down a little this month, but up a bit compared to last year. During August 2023, around 38,345 homes were sold all across Canada. That's about the same as last year. They also have something called a typical home price, and that was about $750,100 in August 2023. It's only the second time this year that this typical home price went down in a month. The reason some home prices are going down is because the bank in Canada made it more expensive to borrow money, like when your allowance goes up and you have to spend more money on your favorite toys. When it's more expensive to borrow money, like getting a loan for a car or a house, fewer people want to buy homes because it's harder to afford them. And when fewer people want to buy homes, the prices can go down. Think of buying and selling houses like a game. In August 2023, the game in Canada was a bit like a tug of war between people who want to buy houses and people who want to sell houses. The score for this game was 56.2%, which means that there were slightly more people trying to buy houses than those selling them. But it's not a big win for the sellers yet. Back in April 2023, the score was much higher at 67.4%. That means back then, the sellers were winning by a lot. But now it's getting closer to being a fair game where buyers and sellers have similar chances. When there aren't enough houses to go around in Canada, a few things happen. More people want houses, and the prices of houses go up. This is because when something is rare, it becomes more valuable. One reason there aren't enough houses is because people from other countries were buying houses in Canada as a way to make money. They thought it was a good investment, but this meant that some houses were empty and Canadians had fewer houses to choose from. Starting on January 1, 2023, Canada made a rule that people from other countries can't buy houses here anymore. That's a good thing for Canadians, but it doesn't stop the people who already have houses in Canada, and we're not sure yet if it will make things better for people who want to buy houses. Another reason is that some people, whether they're from Canada or not, are buying houses and renting them out for a short time, like a few days or weeks. This makes it harder for people who want to live in a house for a long time or buy one for themselves. This problem got worse because of a company called Urban, which makes it easy to rent your house for a short time. Before Urban got big, this wasn't as much of a problem. People have been worried about the gap between rich and poor getting bigger, especially after the big money problems in 2007 to 2009. The facts show that in Canada, the difference between how much money rich people and poor people make got a lot worse in the 1980s and early 1990s, but it has been mostly the same for the past 25 years.